The summer came for us.
This here is a photograph I took a little while ago and I really like it. I spotted this couple enjoying the view at a lake and the lighting was really pretty in the moment, and so instead of just passing them, I actually stopped for a moment to snap the shot of them overlooking the lake, which I think is quite beautiful. This moment at this lake was towards the end of a day trip with Melly and 2 friends, and in this video I'm taking you with me to escape the big city for a day and just have a good time with friends and cameras. Let's go.
You're on my mind this week. The lows are deep. I fall into the refuge that is sleep.
This story begins on a warm morning back in September when Melly and I took a couple trains to get out of Tokyo. Here's the first photo of the day. I took this with my Olympus XA3, which I just have in my pouch all the time for quick in-between snaps like this one, which sometimes is really worth it, and in this particular case I think it was definitely worth it. I love how that one guy just reads the paper while standing in line for the next train. So the train we were riding took us to Odawara station, where we met with our friends Johnny and Hika, and as a little group of 4 we boarded a bus that was going to take us to Hakone. If you've ever been to Japan or done research on places to visit, there is a high chance that you have heard of this place called Hakone. It seems to be a very famous spot not too far outside of Tokyo. However, both Melly and I had never been there and I actually didn't really know much about it, but I decided to just embrace the surprise. And a surprise indeed is what we got. We followed the advice of Google Maps and got off the bus at this seemingly pretty random place, and Google just sent us up this tiny, really steep path through a dense forest that, to be honest, didn't look that assuring. As we came out of the forest, we seemed to have returned to civilization, and eventually we found what we were looking for. This is where we were going to hop onto a funicular that was going to take us up the mountain. It was here that we began to feel the popularity of this place. At the top station, there was not much actually, but a neat view, and this is where I shot my next photo. I'm quite fond of this one. I was drawn to this composition by the symmetry that is created by the architecture. I waited for a little while for some people to be in frame, but not too many so that the photograph doesn't end up crowded. I think the 3 people in frame fill the space nicely, and I like how the foreground is in the shade and the sunlight highlights the people and really puts the focus in the composition on them. So turns out the top of the funicular is actually just the bottom of the Hakone cable car that was going to take us further into the mountains. This is where the cable car was taking us. It's called Owakudani and is essentially a 3,000-year-old boiling volcanic valley with a bunch of sulfur vents. The spot has a big platform, sort of, built for visitors, including the cable car station and some shops. Here I spotted a potentially cool composition from this low angle. I got the shot and I think it turned out pretty cool. Sadly, I messed up the focus, but not too badly. It's still okay. What I like here is the play with negative space, in this case the big blue backdrop, which lets the couple in the foreground stand out really nicely. Something you'll see a lot on a warm or hot sunny day in Japan is people using umbrellas to basically carry around a shade with them. For some reason, I often find that umbrellas can be an interesting subject, and so I was drawn to this group here from this angle that looked like a flock of umbrellas. Later, I got this different shot of them too, which I think is also quite nice. I like the play with the shapes, the round bench and the hexagonal umbrellas, with the sky in the background that creates a bit of a peaceful feeling. After this first stop, we boarded the cable car again that took us further, this time down the mountain again, to Hakone Lake. Here, I got a shot of some interesting walls with a person walking through. I was initially intrigued by the walls with the tiles and the more natural green background. However, I thought it'd be more interesting with someone in frame, so I waited for this moment here. Then, before we continue, I want to take a moment to thank the continued sponsor of my channel, Squarespace. When anyone ever asks me how or where to make a website, I always just send them to Squarespace. It is, in my opinion, such a good service that combines easy and intuitive usage with creative freedom. Over the years, they've created this incredible product that allows me to make a website intuitively without any coding knowledge, while still giving me creative freedom to play around with designs and the character of the website. I myself have been using Squarespace for 5 years now, and it's been great and seriously constantly getting better. I use my website to showcase my projects that are either completed or currently still in progress. However, you can actually use Squarespace for so much more than what I do. You can make a simple blog, but you can even make an entire online shop, a site for bookings if you're a freelancer, pretty much anything. You can start off with one of the many templates and then customize their layout and design. Alternatively, you can also use their AI tool, which lets you create a website by basically describing it. But whatever you do, you get so much freedom to just change and customize everything so easily thanks to their drag and drop editing system called Fluid Engine. You can head to squarespace.com for a 14-day free trial, and then when you're ready to launch your website, you can go to squarespace.com/Crawford to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for continuously supporting the channel and my work here. I really appreciate it. Then, apparently, a classic part of the Hakone experience is a boat ride, or should I say a pirate ship type of ride. This shot I brutally messed up. The Olympus XA3's light metering remains to be a tricky one. Here's one more photo that I shot on the boat ride, which has a much better exposure, though the photograph itself is only mildly interesting I find. Maybe it will grow on me later, but for now it seems a bit random to me. After the boat ride, we agreed to go for a lunch stop, and we found this super cute place where there were just a few seats and a granny that cooked for everyone. While patiently waiting for our food, I was fascinated by the lighting in this corner and shot this photograph, which I think turned out really cool. The way the window softly diffuses the oncoming sunlight and spreads it in the corner, lighting up Hika's back and arm looks so beautiful. I'm really happy with this one. Then, with a full belly and refreshed energy capacities, we embarked on a walk around the lake. eventually we found this interesting structure and viewpoint where I spotted a potentially interesting composition. Here's the photo, and I think this one turned out quite nicely. It's again a play with shapes. In this case, I attempted to combine a somewhat classic landscape photo with the non-organic structures in the foreground. A little detail I like is that the famous torii of Hakone is visible in the distance, which gives this photo a little sign in a way for people who might recognize this spot. I spotted that guy just chilling out at the lake with the two bikes behind him. I like this shot. It's simple and captures the laid-back feeling of this spot here. As we continued to walk, the lighting that came through the trees became so interesting, and I don't know why I didn't take any photos. Like, this shot here could have been such a cool photo in my opinion, but for some reason in that moment I didn't think that way. Maybe I was again chasing the bigger, more grandiose scenes, and mistakenly neglecting the small interesting visual moments like this one. That's something I need to practice. We continued to walk through the forest and around the lake, and it was here that I spotted the couple that I showed you at the beginning of the video. Before getting the shot that I showed you at the beginning, I actually shot a wider photo which I think also turned out pretty cool. I especially like how naturally cool the two look. The guy in the darker outfit with his hands in his hips, and the woman in an elegant bright outfit with her head slightly tilted to the left. Something about them feels very filmic. The only minor thing I dislike here is how the boats in the background are slightly distracting as they appear in between the couple. I think that is partly why I prefer this one. Again, the two are both naturally posing in such a cool way, and the boats this time are just an element on the side of the frame and don't interfere with the main subject. Instead, they get to stand out with just the bright lake as their backdrop. As the sun was slowly setting and we were heading to the bus stop to begin our journey back to Tokyo, I shot one last photograph of these two people sitting here. What initially intrigued me was that they blocked the pretty sunlight with their umbrella. It looks a little wrong, especially to someone like me who grew up in Austria, where in many months of the year the sun is highly appreciated. Here in Japan, however, it is actually quite normal for people to seek the shade. Anyway, I think the photo turned out pretty cool actually. And after that, the sun set behind the mountains and our day trip to Hakone came to an end. It was a great time to be had. However, in case you are planning a trip to Japan, I should mention that Millie and I both agreed that Hakone might be just a little bit overrated actually. Don't get me wrong, it's really nice, but it's so famous that our expectations might have been a bit too high. In some parts, it's very touristy, and so if you don't mind that, that's great. But Millie and I often find it more enjoyable to go to less touristy places that are just as fun and beautiful as Hakone, so I just thought that this is worth mentioning. Nevertheless, it was a great time to be had, and I hope you enjoyed joining us. Before saying goodbye, I would like to say thank you to the lovely people supporting me and my work on Patreon. Thank you so much to each one of you. If you're interested in Lightroom presets, color grading tutorials and stuff like that, you can check out my page via the link in the description. Also, I have a print shop in case that is of interest to you, also in the description. With that said, I hope to see you again soon. Until then, goodbye.